two practices that I found very helpful many years ago are connected to compassion and awareness. And they are so simple that it's very easy to overlook or to uh, simply not realize how the simplest things can make such a big difference in our life. And first, the practice that I discovered somewhere along the way in learning about mindfulness and yoga and meditation is to take 3 deep breaths whenever you're about to do something. And 1 deep breath is great, or 3 deep breaths, whichever you choose to make it be, but just something very short. It only takes a couple of seconds to do and allows for a gap or a space to be opened up and to allow something new or something different to fill, rather than just the strict linear going from one thing to the next to the next to the next. And there's still the engagement of the human mind that is so needy for something to do, that being able to focus on breathing gives the mind the opportunity to say, oh, okay, I'm going to focus on breathing now. And in the meantime, all of these different physiological reactions sort of change within you, your heart rate or your digestion or the way that just your brain waves are functioning, what you were thinking about or how you were feeling, gives a chance to have a little bit of space before you go into whatever that next thing is. So a really simple one was just anytime I enter a room, I would take 3 deep breaths. And this would be something that, you can also apply to something on the computer, like anytime you open a new tab on the computer, or anytime you open an app or something like that, where it's like you're entering a digital room. Anytime you are going to perform an important task, like go into a meeting or record a video or to write a document, that there's all of these ways to bring that 3 deep breaths, and you end up taking a lot of breaths throughout the day. And maybe it's just 1 deep breath, maybe it's 3 deep breaths, but that's the first one. Okay, so then the next one, this one, depending on how we're raised, perhaps you had people that said I love you to you when you were growing up, and perhaps you didn't. But once we grow up, then it's a matter of how often do we hear I love you in our daily lives. And so a practice that I started was saying I love you in the mirror. And I read this blog article that was like, say I love you to yourself in the mirror for like 3 minutes or 5 minutes or something. And I remember practicing that and feeling how weird and silly it felt. And then eventually sort of feeling this like transcendent, like, yes, like it is something that you must experience in order to know what it's like. But eventually you go from just saying the words, or depending on how you feel about the words, eventually to meaning it, or to feeling it, or just to hearing those words being said, and then getting into that space of this is now what's just happening, regardless of how I feel about it. I'm going through this practice. And then even just saying those words internally or mentally throughout the day, or say in meditation, and then applying that obviously to everyone around you in a way that's appropriate, and being able to recognize that there's a certain importance of those words, and that when you do say them, it's important to mean them, and also to recognize that there's an inherent love that exists within us that exists in everybody else too. And there are different kinds of love that, in the Greeks have a way of saying there's philios, which is love for all people or love for the world, like philanthropy. And then there's eros, which is romantic love. And then there's agape, and agape is love for everything that in totality, love for God, love for the world as it is, or love for the experience of life itself. And so in recognizing that in English we do kind of have different ways of using the word love, and also that there are other languages that have way more ways to express love. And so when it's expressed towards yourself, doing it with meaning, doing it with feeling, seeing how much feeling you can bring. And in the tradition of yoga, there's what's called bhakti yoga. This is yoga of the heart, and it's essentially about awakening that natural love of the heart that is present in all of us, that in any, like young child is like not yet conditioned out of them. And so it's mostly in adult life about reawakening that inner state. There's a quote from Bob Marley. It's once a man and twice a child, that there's a certain return or a certain reconnection with this state of inner joy and wonder and love that exists within us all. And there's a process of integrating into the world and then reconnecting with that for what it is, for our own sake, and to feel these two practices and to reconnect with them over time and to evolve with them can be fruitful. And I share them with you because they're things that anyone can do that kind of transcend boundaries and that you can practice anytime. So thank you and enjoy.